Hello Homeworthy, I'm Adam.
And I'm Amy, and welcome to our house in London.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
I'm Adam of Adam Ellis Studio.
And I'm Amy of Adam Ellis Studio.
And we are here in our home in West London. We were looking for a new house probably 10 to 15 years ago, and when we first saw this house, we immediately knew that it was the house for us. It is a Georgian house. It's got beautiful proportions. It's got lots of lateral width, which is something that's unusual in London, and just immediately saw the opportunity with the house.
We're looking for this house when we had our third child, and we've outgrown our last home that was very tall and narrow. So it was wonderful finding somewhere double-fronted with huge width and a great garden. The garden feels like you're in the countryside. So it's a real escape from the city. And we love the house. It's got a really lovely circular feel to it. And when we look around later, you'll see the different elements that we love the most.
The house was originally built, I think about 1860, something like that. And at the time, these houses, of which there are a few on our road, were built for doctors and for lawyers. And I think over time, the houses, a lot of them have been reduced down into apartments and split up into flats. This was one of the handful of houses that was still complete, but it was quite segmented. So we did our best to really open it up. But in truth, whilst it was a fairly significant amount of work, the original space we were working with was so great, and we held on to as many of the original features as we could. All the old cornicing, skirtings, all the fantastic door architraves, which are all really substantial. It just needed a lot of tidying up. We took out a few walls, opened up a few of the spaces, but generally the house is quite similar really to the house that we bought, just with a lot more mod cons. So we're in the hallway of our house. We have fabulously high ceilings in the hallway here with beautiful original cornice, none of which we touched. Little bits needed some repair, but essentially it's all original. The floor is a larchwood floor, which we put down and actually runs through all of the downstairs. It's very light. This hallway can get a bit dark sometimes, just with the way the sun falls on it. So we wanted to lighten it. And I think this big mirror really helps. And this mirror we designed and made probably 10 years ago now. And it's inset with walnut, but made for the space. And one of the great things about the mirror is it bounces all the art around. So you can see fabulous reflections of all the various arrangements, both up the stairs and down the hall, and actually through into the living room here as well.
The bench is from another country, which is a beautiful furniture maker in London, and we wanted to just fill the walls with artwork, mainly from the studio. Adam has a great process of how you lay out and do it. It looks like they've just been sort of thrown up, but it's actually quite a complicated process.
Yes, I mean, how you hang pictures is a bit of it's more of an art, I think, than a science, but it's a real mix of things, lots of antiquarian prints, bits and pieces of Acton, which are actually astonishingly hard to find, but we've got some really old copper plate engravings, views of Acton, all in their original frames and with original glass. And the lovely thing about the original glass is it does bounce. You can see here, it does bounce the light around rather differently. I don't know if you move the camera, can you get a sense of the light falling over the surface? And actually, once you see a piece of antique glass like that, it makes contemporary float glass look really quite flat. So I love using antique glass. This is a piece of antique glass in here as well. My studio is full of offcuts of antique glass.
Light was a gift that I got from you when we arrived in the house. I was allowed to choose an antique of my choice, and that's from my favourite antique shop on the Lily Road called Quindry Antiques, which have beautiful, beautiful pieces. So that's been here since the day we moved in and really lights up the space, and we love it. It's quite playful.
So unusually for us, actually, since we hung the hallway here, it's remained pretty fixed. We don't tend to move the pieces around too much. Occasionally, but not very often. This is fairly static, and I think does create a very lovely warm feel when you walk in. And I think for people who haven't been to the house before, it definitely sets the tone, I think, for the rest of the house. It's not all quite so busy, but yeah.
It's quite interesting because I still find things that I hadn't noticed before. Either that or I've just got a terrible memory, but I do sometimes walk past something and think, gosh, I didn't remember that was there. And there's just a huge different collection full of colour, which is what we love the most.
But I think hanging pictures up the staircase is a great thing, because there's almost like a sort of narrative. It's like you can tell a bit of a story as you travel up and down. I always think that's a nice thing, walking past them up the stairs and down. And that's certainly what we try to do here. Difficult to hang a staircase well, I think. So this is a nice piece. This is the original plan for the stadium for the Olympic Games, I think in 1912, I think. But it's now the site of the BBC. So on here was built the BBC building, which has now been turned into glorious apartments and flats. But we love this print. We actually redrew it from the original drawings.
Okay, and so we come through the hall and into the kitchen. This is a big open plan family kitchen living area, and this we call the garden room. So kitchen and dining in here. And when we bought the house, this was divided up. So there was walls here, and there was sort of a corridor to the garden, so it was much darker. And there were big walls here too, with archways into this area, and the kitchen was actually here. So we've changed this quite a lot and opened it up to create lots of light and space, and it works brilliantly for a family and for having guests.
So I think one of the lovely things about this bigger space, which was separated before, the two bay windows, so there's some lovely symmetry to the space here. And each of these bays makes a very nice space of its own. And we put the big skylight in here to bring lots of light. That's a big single piece of glass. Big tiles on the floor, we love. We didn't want to do a polished concrete floor, but this is almost like the next best thing. So I think these tiles are 1.5 meters square, so they're really big tiles, and I think they've been really successful and really add to the sense of space down here. Well, why don't I start with the mirror? Because the mirror is a piece that we made specifically for the space, this sectioned mirror with these timber inlays in this sort of acid green, and it bounces the garden, all the reflection of the garden, and works very well as our sort of bar and back bar. So whenever we have people around, this is always where we're making drinks and hanging out, and I think that has almost a nice sort of bar-y feel to it. So I think that's been quite successful, this sectioned mirror.
We love this. This is the wave cabinet from Julian Chichester, which has just a lovely sort of feel to it, and we like the wave along the front, and it's worked really well as a drinks cabinet. And
we collaborate with Julian Chichester in his showroom. We often provide them with prints and artwork that when they change their collections we sort of update, and actually it's a really nice collaboration. And this is one of Julian's pieces here. And then we have a studio wallpaper across the wall, back wall here, which was designed really to try and tie in quite closely with the wall colour. It's always a real challenge trying to match wall colours and wallpaper. If you're trying to get in a perfect match, it's almost impossible. So that was never really the case. Also, it changes over the course of the day depending on how the light catches it. But that is, just a soft backdrop really for the end of the room. And then our botanical prints again from the studio that sit in front. Yeah, we love to layer artwork over our wallpapers. That layered look again is something that we love, and that's a good example of it, I think. we opened up this whole space here and found these amazing doors at Lasco, which is a big architectural salvage place in London. And they have incredible stuff. The doors were a complete mess, so our Chippy had quite a job sorting them out. But they're great. They've got those big Espanola bolts on them on the other side, which means we can completely either have them completely shut or completely concertinaed open. So I think these have been quite successful. We haven't done too much to them. We wanted to keep their original state as much as we could. Then we have the bay window here with a fixed seating. And actually this is a lovely place to sit, to read a book, to have a drink, just to generally take it easy. The sun comes, we get the morning sun through the window here. So actually the morning time is a lovely time to sit here as well as the evening. We have these phases of the moon pieces that sit across again at high level.
In terms of the sofa here, I think we've had 3 sofas here over time.
Yeah.
One was far too oversized, one was too small, so as we're always changing things, but this has been here a while now, and we both love green, especially in this house. There's just something about this house which lends itself to green. I think it's because we can see so much in the garden and then bringing the garden inside. So there's a lot of green. And the sofa was from Arlo and Jacob. The coffee table here I love, and I fell in love with this and found it again at Lily Road Antiques. I just love the original shape. I really love form and shape and kind of zigzags and angles and all things like that and waves, so that isn't going anywhere.
It's interesting though how that one little shape of the legs, that almost sort of defines that whole corner. I always think that just that little detail adds so much.
These chairs my older brother found at Kempton Antiques Market. We were together and buying them for his flat, and then he moved abroad and didn't need them, and they were in a terrible state, so we had them sanded and waxed and polished up. And then this is a lovely Fermoy fabric which we put on there, and I just love that coral colour. This is a Matilda Gold light in the corner again with a bit of rattan, and then these glossy lights, the green one and the shade here and the pink glossy base, are from Rosie de Roig, who has the studio next to us, who's a fantastic lampshade maker, and she has beautiful pieces, and we've got lots of those around the house. The wall lights on the back are floss and were recommended by our great friend and interior designer Susie Hoodless, and they've been there forever. I keep thinking I need to change them up for something a bit more delicate, but actually it never works, and so they're just staying, and actually they look quite bold, and
well, they're lovely with the aloe vera, which is this plant here, this Mediterranean aloe vera. It's sort of, yeah, they work, but it's all about this lovely shape, I think. This is the kitchen and our dining area. We're very informal. We don't tend to have formal dinner parties or that sort of thing, and that's the same when we have friends around, guests around. We might be using the pizza oven outside or the barbecue, or it tends to be a little haphazard. So we're not especially into sort of tablescaping or anything like that, as much as I admire a beautifully laid table. And actually, to be fair, Amy does lay a beautiful table.
Yeah, we like collecting things again and mixing them up. Lots of things on this table. I mean, these plates are from Divertimenti. My dad always used to take me to Divertimenti because he loved buying things from there. I've had these forever. They're so chipped, but I just love the lime green and the yellow. We've got this lovely set of glasses that our friend Nina Campbell gifted to us. These are really lovely, and we love the pop of colour. So generally, I just like to mix up colour, lots of flowers, candles, glassware, and we just have a big collection and we throw things together, and this feels kind of very spring-like for this time of year. I don't really tend to use lots of tablecloths or fancy stuff on the table. As Adam says, it's very casual and informal. And we use this area for sitting. Generally, when we have people round, everyone tends to hug the island and crowd around here.
They crowd around the Arga. That seems to be the thing about an Arga, is everybody gathers around an Arga. And the dog particularly. Yeah.
And I grew up with an Aga, so I love cooking with an Aga. Again, that is very informal because you just throw the food in and out, and I like cooking on the top. And the island is obviously great. The kids have always sat up here. We have had some really basic old stools for about 15 years or something that the kids have sat on and trashed, but now very recently upgraded to these very nice stools that I got from a guy in Chiswick who makes stools. And we always have big bowls of fruit, and I love eucalyptus. So we always have eucalyptus in the kitchen when I can get it. Again, coming back to more green, I think this is Colk Green by Farrow and Ball. And it adds a nice pop of colour in the kitchen and ties into the garden. And
the kitchen itself is devolved.
yes.
And it's quite an old, I mean, it's what, I suppose, yeah, I say old, I mean, we've had it 12 years, so it's definitely, it's taken a bit of a battering, I think, but it's held up really well, and we love it. But we have repainted a few times, both the island and the fridge and the cupboard units, and they need it.
Yeah, the island, I keep changing the colour. It's almost, I was trying to look for a sort of tobacco colour most recently, and we're sort of almost getting there. But it's, yeah, again, we like to play with the colours in here. And up here, I can't remember, where did you get this light? But I love the fact that this sort of...
I think that might be the old cinema.
Yeah, the old cinema in Chiswick. A lovely piece there.
There's no immediate window in the kitchen. You've got the big bay windows there, but actually the kitchen itself, there's no obvious natural light. So actually these are quite important. The wicker pendants over the island.
These are from Neptune, and we've changed them around. We did have 3 glass globes before. But again, I've just got this thing about wicker and rattan at the moment, so there's more of that. And yes, we tend to all congregate round here as a family. Breakfast is all up here, and dinner we sit over there together.
Yeah. But this could be where the kids are doing their homework or playing cards or doing whatever really. But the family life is very definitely centred around this space, I think.
This area, I'm moving this around. Cookbooks kind of move about, but we both love cooking. So this area has got all of our cookbooks and also pieces made by our children. They did a pottery course in lockdown and made these lovely little bird houses. And although we don't really ever eat cheese, I fell in love with this big cheese plate just because of the shape again, and I think I found that at Kempton again.
Here we are in the garden, which again we use all the time, all through the year. We love a fire, we love barbecuing. We don't tend to use the pizza oven that often, only on very rare occasions, and I'm very into the garden. I love gardening, and we're lucky to have in London such a big garden, so we really try and make the most of it.
If we have people round, we tend to have these doors open in spring, summer, and Adam will tend to barbecue here, and most people sort of congregate out here and have a drink. We might eat outside here at the table if it's hot, and we like to light the fire pit later on, and people sort of hang out outside. So it's a lovely space, and as you can hear, birds singing all the time, and it's a really lovely escape. Doesn't feel like you're in London when you're out here. But people sort of tend to come and go from the inside to the outside when we're hosting.
So our design aesthetic, I would say, has really evolved over the last 10, 15 years, and I think the house reflects that. It is an ongoing project for us. You know, we're always working on some piece of the house at any one time, however small, and it tends to work in conjunction with the studio because we're always developing new work in the studio. And actually the house can be a great place to trial a new wallpaper, a new set of prints, new colorways. We're sort of best friends with our painter decorators who are often to be seen here with paintbrush in hand repainting a room, or it's a great tool for us in that respect. So I think the house has evolved really from its sort of design aesthetic point of view, and it has ended up now as a very layered space, which we both love. Layered with fabrics, with furniture, with artwork, with wallpapers. We use colour a lot, so it's a very layered space. My instinct is always probably to go a little bit further maybe than Amy. Ames has a very, very good eye. I think maybe my instinct is sometimes push that little bit further, which might work well in a commercial space, but perhaps sometimes in a residential space can be a little bit more challenging. So I think we're quite a good team from that point of view.
Yeah, I don't think at the beginning we had a vision for the house. As Adam said, we did the work very quickly. I think it took about 5 months, and our builder worked really fast. And so we had to make decisions very quickly, and we we had 3 young children, and so we just sort of got it done initially. And then it's changing all the time, furniture coming in and out, paint colours change all the time. We love colour, we love pattern, we like collecting things wherever we go. Mainly we just want it to feel really homely and welcoming and comfortable and practical. That's probably the way that we look at it.
Okay, so from the kitchen we go to our utility room, and would really like to show you the downstairs loo, which we think is really sweet. This actually is a studio wallpaper, tribal leaf. It's very soft. It's like a grass cloth. Anyway, it makes for a lovely, lovely little space in there. Very green again, as we love. It ties into the garden, and hopefully it's a nice little surprise for people.
Yeah, we love to do at the studio really lovely, bright bathrooms and downstairs powder rooms with great colours and patterns, because it's great that you can just walk in and out of the space. You don't have to be in there for too long, but it's a real pop of colour and a punch.
Yeah.
And we like to hang pictures over the wallpapers. This is a mosquito print from the studio.
Woodcut.
It's a woodcut. And these lights are from Corsten. And I got just some ticking fabric from the cloth shop just to make a little curtain under here, which softens it a bit, which is really lovely.
Well, I think that's the thing with these really small little spaces. You know, nothing is off limits. And that's something we really love to play with. My studio work, you know, we often work on our residential work, our private work will often involve a little jewel box of a bathroom or little powder room, washroom. I think people more and more love to do that, just be really playful. It's almost the bolder, the better, the more interesting, the more unusual, the better. So we're now going to head into what we rather grandly call the piano room. I think it's the colour in here on the wall particularly is what really makes this room. It's Bancher, I think, isn't it? Does that?
Bancher, Farrenball.
Farrenball, yeah, it's terrific. And it's great to hang pictures against the darker colour. That really shows off the pictures really well, I think. A lot of my studio is painted quite dark, actually. The walls are quite dark, and it is a great foil for the pictures. The piano, which is a glorious thing. The glossy ebony black, which I think we bought probably 10 years ago now. Yes, it's a sort of constant background noise, the piano in the house. I don't play myself, but Amy plays and the kids all play. So that is, very much the sort of focal point of the room, and something we've become very, very attached to. We sort of watch the kids grow up with it. So this room is a bit more than a transition room, because it's not necessarily somewhere that we come and sit. We tend to move through, but because of the piano, it does become somewhere actually it sort of has its own identity, I guess. These we bought in Morocco very recently, actually, in Marrakesh.
Yeah, love the contrast of the pink and orange, and they've got some of the olivey green in. And this desk we bought at Max Inc., I think, which is a furniture shop near our old house. And I sometimes sit here, and it's just a nice space to sit and work or write. Some board games here, and I'm also studying at the moment to be an art therapist for children, so I sometimes sit here and do my work here. The rug is Ben Oraini old Moroccan rug, which we are very fond of, and it's very well worn now. Again, we've got another Rosy de Roig lamp over here, and this leather chair. What's the story behind that? That was in your family, I think.
My family doctor's old chair, and he died just a few years ago now, and we were left his chair, which was very lovely of him, and it has become a bit of a
it's lovely.
Well, it's always a talking point. Yes, our doctor's chair.
Beautiful cushion that my mum made for us this Christmas with these lovely baubles on. It's really beautiful. She's a very artistic lady too. There's a lot of artists in our family. These pictures, top and bottom here and a few through into the living room, were painted by my grandfather, who also was an artist, and Adam's grandmother was also an artist. So we have lots of artists in the family, and there's a few pictures. Adam painted this of his father, and then behind the door here there's a beautiful painting of, hidden behind the lamp, but of Adam's mother, which was painted by Adam's grandmother.
Well, yes, so the zebra and here, which is actually a pointilliste piece, again from the studio, which the colours all work really well with the wall colour and the strong black and white. And then over the piano we have this spider monkey who he's intended to be like a piece of trompe-l'oeil. He's supposed to appear to be almost three-dimensional. I don't know how well the camera picks up all the metallics in the image, but it's rich golds and bronzes, and it's a very rich piece with the spider monkey sitting in the middle. I've always been very fond of this. He's almost a bit sort of challenging in the room, but I like him very much.
I think it's interesting too with pieces like this, when you do big, bold pieces of artwork. I think in the studio when I saw it, I sort of couldn't decide whether I wanted the monkey in our home and in the room, but actually it sort of just blends in, and it's really worth being a bit more bold and daring with your artwork, because I don't notice it so much now, and I think people are quite scared of putting big, colourful things on the wall. And sometimes we go to people's houses and there's barely anything on the walls, because I think it's quite hard to know what to put where. But I think if you've got big spaces which you can fill and just play with the different sizes, then it works really well.
And I think that's why people come to the studios, because occasionally people will have a very clear idea about exactly what they want, and we will help them to deliver that one way or another, whether it's artwork, whether it's wallpaper, whether it's a combination of both of those things. Maybe it's a very difficult space for whatever reason, and they can't quite work out how to deal with it. So I think that's where we can help. But also these very site-specific pieces that are very much made for specific spaces, like this is. And I think that's where my studio can really help with that's our private work, our residential work. One other thing to mention about this, I think, is the rail and chains, the way it's hung. Which is very decorative, the bronze rail and the chandelier chain. I think that's a really lovely way to hang pictures, and is a great complement again to the Bancher wall colour, the dark bronzy rail, and then all the rich golds and bronzes in the picture. I think it all hangs together very well, I think. And this frame here we have made especially, it's our studio tramline frame, which is an oak, it's a milled oak, that we paint and finish in any number of different ways. We'll pick out the tram lines, we'll pick out the trough in different stains, different paint finishes. So it's very versatile. But that's very much a sort of signature studio frame moulding. The black and the white of the frame pick up very nicely with the piano. It's a simple detail, but it really does help the whole thing work together, I think.
This down here is a chessboard that one of our sons made for Adam for his birthday. So the kids are very creative too, and they love making and building things, and especially in lockdown, the house was just a flurry of activity and creativity and making, which is really lovely. And we used to have a sort of big table in the playroom when they were younger, and that's now sort of become a bit more of a teen snug. But they now come down to the studio and they sometimes paint or make things or even help with framing, and it's lovely with the studio being very local for them to get involved and see where we work, and to sort of be part of it too. Somehow sort of evolved into a room of things that we've collected when we've been away, and also animals for some reason. I think the artwork with the monkey and the zebra, and then the giraffe up here. My father used to give me little prints when I was younger, and this is one of my favourite ones of a bear, and we've got some little bugs. So it's really nice if you can find little frames as well, which I sometimes find at antique markets, and you can just frame up little pieces and dot them about just in different positions and wherever you like, but that looks really nice combined with bigger pieces too. And then we've got a couple of little clay masks that my sons made again when they were doing this pottery in lockdown, which are really lovely with these ribbons. And this is a Matilda Goad lamp. This stores all of our photo albums. So coming in from the piano room into our main living room, and we've linked it with this pinky orange archway, which I was inspired by our friend again, Susie Hoodless, who did a big arch in yellow in her house and just looked fantastic. So it's just a really nice way of dividing but kind of joining the rooms and making this entrance a bit more fun. And this is our family living room. So we are in here most evenings. We watch telly in here and just hang out together in here. And I love the combination of colours. Again, it's sort of grown over time, but pinks and blues and yellows, which are lots of my favourite colours. These two chairs are Halabala armchairs. And do you remember where we got those?
Well, I think Anna Haynes found them for
Yes.
us, another friend of ours who is a fabulous interior designer, and she sourced these for us as well as had them recovered and restored.
So she lives locally and has a studio next to us too, and she is a fabulous interior designer and helped me when we first moved in, sourcing a few pieces and helping with some of the fabrics, covering different things that we already had, which was a huge help.
So this is another mirror that my studio made a little while ago now. We've tried to slightly move away from making mirrors, only because it's quite a hard business, mirrors, we have found, because one little piece of damage and of course all your profit margin is gone. But these are almost prototypes really that we made a little while ago. Well, this is one of them, inlaid with little skinny walnut strips, but is quite decorative, I think, and works well. In the wintertime, when the weather's cold, we'll light the wood burner, and it's very cosy.
So we've collected things over time in this room. The rug is from Sinclair Till, and they do beautiful rug designs and lovely colours. Lots of the things on the bookshelves we've collected from different places we've visited, and every time we go to an art exhibition we'll always buy the book, and Adam has a big collection of art books as well from his art school days. This we found in Morocco when we were recently in the Atlas Mountains. There's pieces that I found at different markets. I love going to Kempton on a Tuesday morning, and it's just the thrill of finding something really special there is always really exciting. And these crabs we love and found on a recent trip to Cornwall, not so recent. These wicker chairs I really love. You can get the big peacock ones, and this is a nicer, smaller, daintier one, which I got at Kempton Market again. I've got a lot of cushions here from my friend and designer Susan Delis. So this lovely yellow one and lots of these in the window are from Susan. these lovely ones at the back. She does a lot of icats as well, and she has a treasure trove in Notting Hill, which I love to visit and find lovely pieces there. And she also has some lovely fabrics. So these are all Susan's fabrics, this stripe here, and these lovely ones, these icats, which are kind of reversible, and we sort of tend to swap these round a lot, but they're lovely pieces too.
I think as far as pictures go, it is a bit of a mix of things. This is a woodcut triptych, Mesquita again. He was an Austrian artist, and I think that was made around 1910, something like that. And it's a lovely thing. I think this again is Amy's grandfather. This was a portrait he painted. That's Lord Beaverbrook, after an artist called Graham Sutherland, but that's Amy's grandfather. This is Michael Craig Martin, a much more contemporary piece, which we bought a little while ago. I think one other thing that might be worth mentioning in here is, which people often comment on, is why is the TV so low? And this was absolutely sort of my thing. I just think a TV low like this is not only much, much more relaxing to watch, but you can be far more discreet with it. You can almost sort of lose it at low level. I think to have a TV higher up, it becomes such a feature in the room. And we love watching TV, but we don't necessarily want the TV to be front and centre of the room. And actually, that's a really big TV, but it is actually surprisingly discreet in the room. And that's because of the low level of it. We're able to tuck it away. And there's one other thing particularly that I love in here, and that is the larchwood floor, which I mentioned earlier, but it runs through the whole of the downstairs. And it's so soft, and the lightness of it, I really love it. The grain is beautiful. It has almost like a silvery quality to it. You wash it with a soap that just keeps almost like the slightly bleached quality of it.
I got this lovely lamp base in Lily Road. This is a Matilda Goad lamp shade, and I quite like these boxes. I seem to find these at Kempton as well, old hat boxes, and I love a stripe. Little pieces here which I need to put up, but these are lovely pieces that the children have made again. So we do love all these little artistic elements. This is a little piece that I did when I used to do art at school, and just lots of lovely books and patterns and colour, an old sewing machine up there. Just lots of shapes that kind of work together, colours that talk to each other, and just like to be a bit playful with the colour and all the different objects.
Well, I think a good example of that is if you look at the rug, you have these pinks and these blues and greys almost, and then if you look at this large triptych piece on the wall, it's all the same colours. It's all blues and greys, and really just that ties, and the Mesquita here ties the whole room together. And actually, once you've got that, you can then afford, I think, to bring in all sorts of other colours around it, because you've already got this sort of backbone to the room, which is the rug, and then this big strong piece on the wall here. And because they're so united, it holds the room together, and I think then frees you up to be more playful and to bring in other colours and patterns. This round table here is definitely a nice memory. We were on Columbia Road, the flower market, one Sunday morning, probably 10 years ago, and we were at that point probably sort of peak furniture buying for the house, having relatively recently moved in. And we came across this table and we both thought, well, it's absolutely perfect. And then we had to somehow get it home on the tube, this big piece of glass and the big base. And so between us, we somehow manhandled it home. But yeah, it has a lovely memory.
These lamps are ochre, I think, and the lamp shades were made by Susan Delise again with a lovely little yellow icat trim. This little French solitaire table was from the old cinema in Chiswick. There's bits of fabric lying around everywhere which I need to make into cushions and all sorts of things. This I think we got in Morocco again, but I haven't got around to making everything yet. But
Amy has
again,
bags.
it's always a work
she has
in
bags
process.
and bags and bags of offcuts and little sample pieces like this. Yeah, forever in need of a home. Well, as the kids have got older, there can at times be a little bit of competition for space, for who wants to watch, who wants to watch what. It's not a formal space, but it is perhaps a little bit more formal than
a bit more grown up
than perhaps we'd like it for the kids. So we do have a second living room, which we'll show you now.
So coming in from the kitchen, we've got this half door, which was originally for when the children were much younger and playing in here as a playroom. And so I could lock this across, and so they couldn't escape, and I'd be in the kitchen, I could see them. So we need to sort of make that into one door, but it's a good memory. And then this is now our sort of teenage kids' room with the drum kit, TV, and a big comfortable sofa. Cushions. This is a Christopher Farr fabric, which I really like, the sort of check, the strong pattern on there. And the walls are painted in beetle nut by Paper and Paint Library, which is this really lovely, rich, strong orange.
So on the wall in here, we have a pair from the studio, these two very large format skiing prints, which we've actually borrowed from some vintage photographs of skiers, and totally redrawn, reworked in these sort of silhouettes and just picked out the key areas. I think they're quite successful. The kids all love skiing, and this is, I think, they just work well in the space, the scale of them and the height of them. And against the dark beetle nut, I think they really pop.
So this rug has been the most durable and practical rug. We've had it in here throughout the time they've been kids, when it's been an art room, and it's made of recycled bottles. Our friend Barney has a great rug company called the Unnatural Flooring Company, and they have a whole variety of sort of sisal type rugs made of recycled bottles, and it's great. It's washable, you can just wash off paint and any stains, it's great. So it's really practical for this room. This is a basket that my son picked out the other day at Chiswick Market, just up the road. This is a lovely little piece that I've just borrowed from our friend and interior designer Anna Haynes, which is her new little side table. And yes, in here things are sort of gradually coming together because it's quite a new space, looking for something to put here, maybe a nice curvy mirror of some kind. And then this giant clock we've had forever since it's been a playroom, and that's always just stayed there. And then we have this lovely seaweed piece from the studio underneath it, which I really love, the graphic and the colour and the shapes. And you can see that as you come through from the kitchen.
So my career began really, I went to art school, and I had, after art school, probably the best part of 10 years painting. Always slightly panicking over who was buying my next picture and where I was showing next on my own in a studio. But all that time I was working with various people, various interiors people, helping them to source art, creating art sometimes for particular spaces. And over time really that grew into much more of a business really. And it was a breath of fresh air, in truth, because I found myself working with teams of people, I had budgets, it quickly became a business. And it happened, I guess, more by evolution, really, than by having a grand plan. And I mean, really, that, to some extent, is the same now. We're very project-led. We don't always know where our next project is coming from. Thankfully, they seem to keep coming, but it has been very organic. It's evolved.
And I began my career as a French and Spanish teacher, and I did that until I had our third child, and then I took some time out to be a mum, which was really important to me, to be here with the children. When my children began to get a bit older, I began to work in the studio with Adam. We sort of have different roles. I mainly focus on the residential side and work with clients curating walls for their homes and choosing artwork and bespoke wallpapers. So now let's take you upstairs.
We really like being playful with our wallpapers, and the positioning of the fish in the bathroom just at the top of the stairs here, where his eye is looking straight down the stairs at you. That's not an accident. That was very deliberate, and the way the light catches the metallic all around his face, so that it's like this sort of really playful little adventure as you come up the stairs and you're being watched by the big fish with the big eye. These are reworked Art Deco pieces, 1930s, Eugene Segai. They were originally made as fabric patterns. And in the studio we have just recolored, reformatted and created these upscale prints from them. So they're like a homage, I guess, to Eugene Segai. He also painted a lot of bugs and creatures and that sort of thing, but he's a bit of a hero really for our studio. And they work very well as a set. We have lots of things by Segai. This wallpaper is called Glass Eye Fish and is one of our signature studio wallpapers. And actually this was pretty much the first place that we installed the wallpaper when we were still trialing it and working on colorways and composition and trying to get all the metallic qualities right. So it was great to have a bathroom to be able to play around with. And since then it's been really successful for my studio. And we love it. It's all rich golds, pinks, greens, has a lot of depth, and really does create this otherworldly sort of a space. These quite intimate small spaces like a bathroom, it's really successful. And it's this big sense of surprise, I think. I think, as I said earlier, really nothing is off limits in a bathroom, I think, like this. So the more playful, the more bold you can be, the better. I think the other thing as well with these wallpapers is the choice of colours really important. So we tend to have complementary colours that we would recommend with certain wallpapers. And here this is Obsidian Green by Little Green. And it works across the ceiling as well as all the joinery, the woodwork, the skirting. And I think makes for a really sweet little space. The pendant light, the glass ball, I think is quite playful again. It echoes the fish eye. And actually the way it distributes the light, it's got a fluted glass, and actually the light is scattered around the wallpaper, so it picks up all those metallics. And the other thing about this little bathroom is it does have a little window. And actually that's really nice because in the daytime you get all the ambient light that comes in, and the wallpaper reacts to that daylight in a certain way, which is different to nighttime when there is no natural light, and then it's just the pendant. So the wallpaper itself actually changes over the course of the day, which I think is really nice. So the inspiration for this really has just come from, I guess, a sort of lifelong interest in prints, particularly natural history prints. I have a love of the sea. I'm always swimming. Love fish. I love botanicals. These are seaweeds in here. So it was a very natural thing to create a wallpaper like this. And actually it's just one of a series now. You know, we have all sorts of patterns and designs that follow this kind of idea with these big, bold, heroed creatures with soft botanicals that sort of feed around them. So this is I guess this is fairly typical. We have a big archive in the studio, a big collection of antiquarian prints that I've been collecting all my life. And actually the fish here borrow from some original steel engravings, which we have in the studio. Essentially, this is a fully bespoke piece, studio piece. You know, that every element has been built from scratch. It doesn't repeat, so it's a non-repeat pattern, like many of our wallpapers. They're all made to order. So if you were to come to us and order a wallpaper for a space like this, we would need the dimensions of the walls, we'd need the widths, the height, and we would then be very careful, very particular about how we arranged the elements, so that if there's a window, for example, or in this case, if there's a line of sight up the staircase into the bathroom, then we'd be very thoughtful about what we put directly facing you when you open the door. I think that's the big advantage of having a non-repeat, a bespoke wallpaper like this, is you can be really, really playful with where all the elements are positioned.
This is the snug, which is kind of a through room to one of my son's bedrooms and a little gym room. The original walls of the house finished here, and the family who lived here before extended here and made this great space. So it's got 2 extra bedrooms, the utility room underneath, and the office, which was a garage for them with a boat in it or something, I think, and we made it into an office. But so this is kind of a through room with a sofa, which was my dad's ancient sofa ages ago, but it's kind of just a lovely space because it just gives much more space in the house, going from this side of the house through, and then we've got this lovely back staircase. So there's this great sort of circular feel through the house, and you can actually end up going that way and someone else goes that way, and you kind of, it just allows for a family of 5 plus, you know, extra family and guests to live here and have lots of space themselves.
Quite a long time ago now, we had a project with the Natural History Museum in London. We were working on a restaurant, and the theme of the restaurant was inspired by a chap called Hans Sloane, who travelled the West Indies with various artists and scientists, documenting all the flora and fauna, natural history that had never been recorded before. And he came back with this amazing collection, and actually that went on to form the core of what's now the Natural History Museum. And it was from his illustrations that we created this big sort of tableau, and then recoloured and sort of reformatted. So this has a lot of heritage really to it, this piece. And it's essentially a sort of miniature really of the original piece that we made probably over 20 years ago now. But we thought, when thinking about what do we do with this wall, it just seemed like a really lovely thing to do. And the idea of these interlocking pictures. If you ever go to the Natural History Museum, one of the ways that they display their fossils is exactly like this. So the fossils are in these big, deep box frames, but they're all interlocked. So that was quite a nice connection, I think. Not only is all the imagery from the Natural History Museum archives, but the way that these are displayed also is very closely connected. So I think it stood the test of time quite well.
And this is a wallpaper that originally Adam and I designed this 18 years ago when our daughter was born in our old house, and we wanted something behind her cot in the nursery. We put together this idea with hot air balloons and this vista behind, and it was probably one of the first wallpapers.
Yeah, I think it probably was, yeah. This is a view of the Lake Coniston in the Lake District. And because it's been scaled up so much, you see all the beautiful line detail. It's a lovely thing. And then the balloons over the top. But it's got this real depth to it. And I think it's quite unusual still. It's stood the test of time, I think, quite well.
Yeah, there's a lovely light area. And we've got, again, lots of pieces. This is mainly where we've hung some of our children's artwork, which is really colourful, beautiful pieces that they've made over the years, and just bits and pieces that we've collected. This is a Pookie lamp, I think, and I love the texture on here, and a lovely bright Ikat shade by Susan DeLise, and bits and pieces that I've collected mainly at Kempton, I think. I can't seem to part with these hobby horses that were my kids, and this aeroplane that I found again at Kempton. And then this takes us through into one of our son's bedrooms, painted in a lovely, I think it's stone blue by Farrow & Ball. which is a really, really lovely colour to hang artwork against. The kids tend to come down to the studio and see things that catch their eye and sort of want to take them back, and so there's always pieces coming and going. We did a playing card selection last year, so different playing cards with different themes, and Tom loves skiing, so that was his choice for here, and a world map. But again, as Adam was saying, it's lovely hanging pictures against really rich colours, blues, greens, oranges, reds. It really makes the pictures pop, and it's really great. And in a little bedroom like this, with less light, you can just embrace that and have some darker colours on the walls. These lovely shades again by Rosie de Roig, which I love because they just have such great patterns and colours.
When it comes to sourcing art for our home, then we don't have a process. It might be that we have a particular space we're thinking about, but probably more often than not, we just stumble across something and decide we love it, or one of us decides that we love it, and we always say to each other, if you see something you love, you must buy it, as far as that's possible. More often than not, it isn't, but if you can, you should. And that's something we try to do. So, and that applies to art. I work a lot with antiquarian prints and antique print dealers, so I'm forever buying things with the studio. So I do stumble across things all the time that I sort of fall in love with there and then. We are ultimately limited with wall space, and as you'll see, a lot of our walls are very full, but we do change things and move things around in the house, which I also think is a really important thing to do, to move pictures every few months, few years, just it gives them a fresh lease of life.
We also like going to the occasional book fair, antique book fair, and we like going through and seeing if we can find anything there, and then we take that to the studio and work on those and make them into beautiful prints. That's a really nice way of finding quite original pieces too. So this is our master bedroom. The walls are painted in a lovely pinky colour called Temple by Paper and Paint Library. It's a really lovely warm colour for a bedroom. It's a bit like setting plaster. It's got great warmth and really easy to pair other colours with. This rug has been here since we moved in, I think. It was a temporary rug, which was my dad's, and it's just stayed, and it's sort of faded over time, and the colours are really lovely. I think it was originally from Turkey, and the other two rugs are from Portobello, which are sort of Ben O'Reilly type rugs. So we like it in here, we wanted to just create a really lovely warm space, again using lots of colour. Adam made the bedside tables, which I can't imagine you ever having the time to make bedside tables now, but I think they were inspired by Susie Hoodless or something she had found. But I love the fact that they're oversized and can take all our books. So we've got this pair of beautiful lamps either side of the bed, which remind us of sea urchin sort of shells that we find sometimes when we're away. So the cushions in here tend to change a bit. I think this is a linwood fabric, a velvet with a lovely orange piping, and I love putting fringes on cushions too. The sun on the wall over there, the sun sconce, I found in the old cinema in Chiswick, and I do love a sun motif. I really, really love the sun, so it's nice to have that there as a reminder. Through here is a little dressing room, which used to have a door from the hallway and was like a men's dressing room before, but we've created this opening here, and it's a lovely light space. So this has got my things, clothes, bags. This is a little rug that I found in Istanbul, and the colour I think was orange aurora, and I want to do the joinery actually in the same colour, but I haven't got round to it. I wasn't brave enough to begin with, but now that we're using more and more colour, and I feel much braver now, so I'd like to do the whole thing in orange, and it's lovely with the sun coming in. And then we've got this picture up here which reflects in the mirror,
I think, yes, so this we printed actually in reverse.
Yes,
so that you read it in the mirror.
It's up here in reverse, but you read it in the mirror.
Yeah, that's quite
with
nice.
the sun. So this is a lovely little space and an extra bit of space for storage. And that's what's been great about this master bedroom actually, is there's lots of space in here. We've got wardrobe space in here, and then a couple of wardrobes, and then into the main bathroom. And originally this was 2 bedrooms. So when we bought the house, it was really lacking in bathrooms. There was 1 bathroom on this floor shared, and then 1 bathroom upstairs. So we added bathrooms, and that's really made it a lovely space. You've got your own master and ensuite, and then we've got a lovely guest and ensuite upstairs now.
So this portrait of Amy here is something that I took not long after we'd first met, actually, so quite a few years ago, but it's actually a pinhole camera. So a big cardboard box with a tiny little pinhole in the front and a big piece of photographic paper on the back. And Amy had to sit still here for about, I think about half an hour, not moving, in order to get the perfect exposure. So that's something that I think we're both quite attached to. And that's that old, looks like an old vintage black and white. Well, we love these 2 Art Deco pieces again, a lot of Art Deco influenced pieces in the house, and not least these Kaleidoscope series, and we have quite a number actually of them in the series. And yeah, we just love them.
So we created this archway through here into the master bathroom, and we've got wardrobes on either side here, and painted this in a darker green. I think this is spruce by Paper and Paint Library, so this sort of cocooned walk-in wardrobes on either side. And then the woodwork here painted in railings by Farron Ball. And this looks out onto the garden. We've used shutters in, well, pretty much everywhere in the house. We haven't got round to making curtains yet. I always sort of put in shutters initially and then thought I'd get on to making curtains, but I never did. But I love the amount of light you can get, and you can open and shut the different sections. So they've worked really well. They've been so practical and lovely to lie in the bath here and sort of hear the birds in the garden. We used a lot of metro tiles. I think they were very kind of the moment, but actually they have been pretty timeless and worked really well in the bathrooms. And I love this sort of the bigger size, these sort of large format metro tiles on the walls.
It's worth definitely talking about the wallpaper in here. So the swimmer, as we call her, and she is 1920s, again, Art Deco fashion plate, and she's pretty wonderful, I think. Just this soft blue background that just seems to go on forever, and she's looking into the distance somewhere, contemplating her swim. I always imagine it's the early hours of the morning, or maybe she's been up all night, I don't know. But we love this piece. And actually, when we first designed the bathroom, this wall was blank. And actually what's been brilliant is when we first put this up, I should think, I don't know, 8 years ago, no, less probably, 5 or 6 years ago, it totally reinvigorated the whole bathroom space. And she works really well.
It's lovely lying in the bath and looking up at the swimmer. It's very transporting. I love the blue and the pop of orange from the hat. It works really beautifully, and it's a fabric-backed paper. You can wash it down, so it actually works really well in bathrooms.
Yeah.
And then we've mixed. I love that. That's quite a sort of contemporary piece, and then the metro tiles too. And then we like mixing up some antiques too. So we've got this lovely Pears soap cabinet, which we found at an antiques market, which has been there forever. But love the combination of the two, and we've done that around the house quite a lot.
I think one more thing to say about wallpaper. People are wary about using wallpaper in bathrooms. But actually, it's surprising what you can get away with. If it's properly fitted, if the wall's been properly sealed, the right adhesive has been used, and it's been fitted well, there should really be no problem. It shouldn't. The humidity in the bathroom shouldn't be a problem if you've got particularly with certain kinds of wallpaper that have almost like a slight plasticity to them. The water just sits on top, so it shouldn't be a problem. And you can also, they're very durable, you can wipe them clean.
Okay, so we're now taking you into our guest bedroom and bathroom, and this had a roof terrace before, so we built this on top. This was a family bathroom, and it's a great space because we've got this door which closes off, and you've got the privacy and lots of space. So we love having people to stay. My family come from abroad and lots of friends, and it's a really lovely, peaceful space because it looks out onto the garden. And we've got another studio wallpaper in here, which is our Columbidai wallpaper. And we've overlaid some pictures from the studio too, a rug which I got from Kempton Market, and again we've used some green metro tiles here. But it's a beautiful light space with the skylight windows and the green colour. I think the walls are a green by Farrow and Ball. And yeah, it's lovely lying in the bath. I mean, it's very echoey. It's a lovely space, light and calm, and you definitely feel like you're in a really lovely guest suite, I think. I think people really enjoy coming to stay. And sometimes I come up here and actually think it could have been the master. There wasn't quite enough storage for that, but it's lovely to treat guests and hope that they feel really welcome and comfortable up here too.
So what makes a house a home? I think what makes our house a home is to be surrounded by things that you feel connected to one way or another, whether that is pictures or prints, paintings, furniture, things that you've collected, things that are like a memory bank, really, as well as things that are ultimately comfortable, things that for whatever reason we love. I think that's what a home is.
What makes a house a home? For me, it's the people too that are in it, our 3 children, our dog who's just had puppies, and we love having friends to stay. A lot of my family live abroad, and we have guest rooms. We love to be filled all the time.
We have a lot of parties.
Yeah. Adam and I don't sit still often, so we lead busy lives, but we enjoy it. So this feels like a home when it's full of people and life and noise.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.